As I've said, my name is Tony and I'm your alcoholic secretary. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. We are glad that you are all here. In keeping with our singleness of purpose, our speaker will share her experience, strength, and hope for approximately 45 minutes. We ask out of respect for our speaker to please remain seated until she has finished. Would you all welcome Beth?
Take a breath. Breathe in, God. Breathe out fear. I don't know why I still get nervous, but I do. My name's Beth, and I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. And it's really nice to see everybody out there. John, thanks for asking me again to speak. I spoke here last year. I think it was in the spring or the summer. And what I like about this group is that you have so many young people in here. What a gift, you know? What a gift to get sober when you're young. Believe me, you know? I was, I forget, 33 when I got sober. And I already had kids, you know, already screwed up a marriage. The kids were preteen kids, so they were kind of screwed up, you know. You don't have to do that if you guys stay sober, you know. Just do it one day at a time and keep coming to meetings and listen to these guys like John, you know. I remember John when he first came in, and I loved his persistence. And I always talk about this. I got to do this, John. He came on his bicycle. Through all kinds of weather, he was there, you know. He just came to every meeting. And he was so excited one night because he got a light for the bike, and it was big. And now look where he is, you know. It doesn't seem possible that just taking in that liquid can destroy your life. Just think about that. Just that liquid can destroy your life. I loved that liquid. I really did. I loved it because it took away all the pain, took away the fear. I had a hard time growing up and realizing that the first marriage that I had was no good. I graduated from school when I was 16 and got married a week after I was 18, I think, something like that, you know. So I really never had any time to grow up. Very immature, and the big book talks about that, you know. I forget what it says. I should read it more often. But it says something about that, you know. We're immature, and I definitely was. And I thank God I feel more mature today than I did then. So I'm here to share my experience, strength, and hope. I have a home group. It's the Friday night speaker meeting. If you guys want to come out, it's in Prescott Valley at the Lutheran Church out there on... what's the name of it? Lakeshore Drive, 7 o'clock. And we had a great meeting last night. We have a great meeting every Friday night. You know, COVID kind of put the kibosh in a lot of these meetings for a while. What I think we're back. I hope we're back. I don't know if COVID or the new COVID will ever stop, but we're pretty determined people, you know. And I know if I take that determination off getting high and getting drunk and getting sober, it's going to work. It's going to work, you know? You got to do that. So when I speak, I try not to think about myself, but think about who I can help. I got sober in a town in New York. Dan and I have been married for 36 years, and we met 36, right? Yeah. We met in AA, and I know. I'm a little scared because I haven't done this for a while. I remember the pain in the beginning. First, I remember the pain of realizing that, really, I'm an alcoholic, you know? How can I be an alcoholic? I'm a goody two-shoes, you know? I graduated from school, and I did pretty good with my life, but oh God, I love to drink. And all of a sudden, I realized that I liked it too much. And when I had one, I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. That was it. So I remember a lot of drunk nights. I mean, I won't go into that too much, but it really was bad. One of my early memories, and I try to say this because it was very important to me, my dad liked to drink, and he liked to drink beer, and he liked to drink beer in those, those glasses that went like this, and they had a little thing on the bottom, and they were like that. And he would sit with his friends at the kitchen table, which was very small. And I remember this. They were pretty quiet in the beginning. He'd let me sit on his lap. I was pretty young. And he'd let me have a little bit of the bottom of the glass. And an hour or so would go by, and they went from kind of dismal quiet to really happy guys, laughing, carrying on, telling jokes. And I remember that. It's happiness. Drinking is happiness, And another thing I remember, we lived in the country. Like I said, my mom didn't drive. And I had a lot of toothaches as a kid. And she would make me in a shot glass honey and whiskey. And it took the pain away from my toothache, Or she'd put it on a cotton ball, whiskey, and I'd put it on my tooth. Oh, I love the taste, I love the taste. My father, on my 16th birthday, pierced my ears when my mother was out. She didn't want me to do this. And I remember he put a cork in the back and an ice cube for a while, and then he put the needle through my ear. And I was like, he says, "You don't look too good." He said, "Here, have a shot." That fixed it. I'm telling you, the color came back into my face. And so I remember those things. And I remember alcohol took the pain away. I had a sore throat. We'd gargle with whiskey and honey. We'd have whiskey and tea and honey. We had a lot of whiskey, Yeah. My dad used to make wine and stuff too in the basement, but I won't get into that. So that was kind of like my early memories. I got some notes here. My parents were good. They were good. Blue-collar worker, my dad was. He liked to drink. He'd come home a lot of nights, and he'd fall asleep in the chair. He'd drink that green bottle it was Ballantine ale. I don't think guys remember that. And my mom didn't drink too much in the beginning. She was home when I'd get home from school, and she baked a lot, so she helped me with my homework. I mean, they were pretty good parents. I was not very confident in myself in high school and so forth. And like I said, I graduated when I was 16, but I could pass for drinking. They weren't too, particular about that. Nobody ever asked me my age. So I drank pretty early on. And I felt very different from other people. But when I picked up a drink, I felt beautiful. I'd have one or two drinks, and I could dance, and I could shoot pool pretty good, I didn't like responsibility. I really didn't want responsibility, but I didn't think about that. Here I am, I got married really early. I had 3 kids, boom, boom, boom. Responsibility, And my first husband wasn't around very much, so fear entered the scene. I knew what fear was at that point. I didn't know before that because I came from a pretty stable relationship with my parents and my siblings. This was not stable at all, Most times I had all the responsibility of the kids and bills and stuff like that, and I had to go to work. Friends of mine started going out on weekends, and I had a lot of good times. The Friday night and Saturday night turned into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then turned into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it became more and more. And then the arguments were more at home. And then I got this was probably, in the late 70s, I got this deal on buying a bar. and it was a disco bar. That was when disco was really in. And I was introduced, I love to say this, to that, and I think you'll know what I mean, that white Peruvian dancing powder stuff, you know? So it really helped me to drink a lot. I could really drink, you know, and not feel too much of it. But along there, you know, it got worse and worse, and pretty soon I couldn't take care of the business, and my friend, alcohol was my friend, turned into my enemy. It really did. I started not being able to get high anymore. It didn't work. Nothing worked. I would cry and cry and cry, cry and cry and cry. You know, my life was falling apart. What am I going to do? Oh my God, I got these 3 kids. I can't do all this by myself. There's a part in the big book that I want to read. I love this. It's called The Bedevilments, and it's on, no, that's not right. 53, I'm in 53. Yeah, thank you. 52. We had to ask ourselves why we couldn't apply our human problems this same readiness to change our point of view. We were having trouble with personal relationships, definitely. We couldn't control our emotional natures. We were prey to misery and depression. We couldn't make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness, full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. Was not a basic solution of these bedevilments more important than whether we should see newsreels of lunar flight? Of course it was, you know? I mean, it didn't matter what else we did. This was the problem. This was the problem. And like I said, the solution, which was my alcohol, my drinking, and my drug taking, all of a sudden turned into my enemy. And my life, I couldn't go on. So what I did at, I don't know how old I was, I forget the ages, I ran away from home. I had stepped on a broken wine glass the night before getting out of bed, so I had to go into the hospital for stitches. I had 5 or 6 stitches on the instep of my foot, and the doctor that was doing that knew what was going on, you know, so he said some nice things. And I packed a green garbage bag, and I had gotten brand new Adidas sneakers. I saved up for these sneakers so long, and I ran away with only one of them, because the other one I couldn't put on that foot. I never found that sneaker. I don't know where it went. I ended up in New Jersey at the shore, and roamed around for a couple days with a drug friend of mine, and called my sister and my brother-in-law, who lived down there, and they got me into a rehab, which was kind of unheard of at that time. This was in 1982, and it was in Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. And I remember that my sister took me to a doctor, and the doctor looked at my foot, and he said, "These stitches have been here way over a week." And I said, "No, I've only been gone for a couple days." So I lost time in there. And I went into this place, and I learned that I had a disease. And it made me feel so much better that I could say, this is what's wrong with me. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I had alcoholism. And around that time, they just decided, the American Medical Association, to declare it a disease. So that helped me too. And I remember when I signed in the hospital, I told her how much drugs I took, and she said, "Well, how much do you drink?" And I said, "Only maybe a quart of bourbon a day." It's like, you know, that's too much. You know, you really shouldn't be drinking that much. So I learned a little bit about the disease. I stayed in there 6 weeks, and I think that was one of the best things I had ever done for myself. I'm glad that I got away from the whole situation that I was in. And like a lot of you guys, you're in for treatment. That's what I was. I was in for this treatment. I learned about this disease, and it really is a disease of the mind. It's in here, and I still have it. I have 39 years, and it's still very active sometimes in my head. It does not go away. But what I have also is 39 years of AA. Thank God for Bob and Bill. Oh my goodness. I learned about the phenomenon of craving, and that what is in our big book about that RID, restless, irritable, and discontent. There's that time where my body and my mind does not have that alcohol or drug in it, and I'm restless, and I'm irritable, and I'm discontent, and I don't have anything. What do you do? What do you do? Again, thank God that I was in this place when I kind of sobered up, and people were there to talk me through these times. And I try to do that with sponsees sometimes when they're new in the program. There's a period that if you don't get through that and you pick up again, you're right back in the same place you were before or worse, you know? And that can go on, that cycle can go on forever and ever and ever. I've seen people that can't get through that. And I believe firmly that because I'm like a testament to that. I did that enough times. It's very slight now. I can feel kind of when I'm in there a little bit, but the disease is not as loud as it was before. You know, I always thought the disease was on this side and AA is on this side. And that thing was screaming at me a lot. And AA was very quiet. Well, it's the opposite today. But it's still there, you know, it is still there. A very important thing to learn about that cycle that we have, and we all have it, you know. I had some blank spots when I came home, and I still tried to run the bar. Oh, geez, and people in AA told me not to do that, you know. I wasn't in that bar half an hour, and I always talk about this too, because you know that smell that's in the carpet when you walk in the door, and you smell all that old alcohol and the cigarettes, and people threw up over here, and it was great. It was great, you know. So I kind of, you know, meandered around for about a half an hour, and I had a drink in my hand. So that was the first time I screwed up. The second time was I was trying to clean up my house. Ugh. My house was a mess. It was really dirty, and I had, you know, these boys. They were all boys, and they had cats and dogs and gerbils and chickens and all kinds of things. So I had these alleyways in the rooms. So I was trying to make the alleyways a little wider, and I moved a trunk, and there was a nice little packet, you know, stuff. Didn't even think about it. It was gone. It was gone. So start over again. But I feel fortunate too, because I think that taught me about how this disease acts in me. And I think this disease acts differently in each one of us, and we need to learn that. It's so tricky. It's so tricky. The big book talks about that too, you know. Tries to get me however it can. And I feel that kind of downward slide, like I say, still today, when I flip off somebody and I'm driving and he cuts in front of me or something, you know, and that's that anger, that's the disease for me, you know. I really got into AA when I came home. I remember walking in my house when I got out of the rehab and feeling all those old feelings. I got on the phone right away and found out when there were meetings in my area, and I called up my father, and I asked him to come to meetings with me. Well, I'll do it once, you know, I'll go with you once. I went to the meeting, and this guy, my father has a strange name, his name is Roe, and this guy back there, he gets up and he said, Roe, I've been saving a seat for you. He went, you know, he stayed the meeting. He stayed the meeting with me, but that was nothing he was going to be interested in, you know, so then I started going myself. But that guy introduced me to a lot of women who introduced me to other women, and I got a little clique together, and I got a sponsor pretty quick, and she would pick me up, and she would bring me home, and she would pick me up early, and she would bring me home late. We always went to the diner after the meetings and drink more coffee, and got to know her, and I really loved her. She helped me a lot. She's passed on. I've lost 3 sponsors in the length of time that I've been in here, because they had time and they just passed away. There was a time I'd like to talk about, because I think most of us feel this. When I came in, by that time I had gravitated towards drinking and drugging people. They were my only friends that were left, and I hadn't quite got into the friendships with the women and men in AA. I felt very alone. I missed those people from the past. I didn't know the people in AA well enough, and it was kind of a really uncomfortable time. But I stuck it out, and I made, I think, better friends in AA than I had out, because they weren't interested in how much money I had or drugs or, and I watched the people, they were happy in AA. The ones that I hung out with were kind of past that. They weren't too happy in their lives anymore, Dr. Silkworth is a great guy, and he talks about making that decision, that this is what you want. And that was one of the times when I was kind of floating around, excuse me, with no real friends, that I made that decision, no matter what, because I had those 2 slips too, so I would always kind of think about them. I made it this far. I made it this far. I made it this far. This is really important. The family was getting a little bit better. The kids were better. The dogs were fed and all that stuff, so things were getting a little bit better. I was introduced to the steps, which I believe are my 12 steps of living. I use them all the time, and I've been in enough time that I use them now, I believe, without even knowing that I'm doing it. They're just kind of, there. My first sponsor took me to a lot of step meetings, and Dan and I were in New York. We didn't use this big book too much. We used the 12 and 12, and that's how we did the steps through that. But I do them differently today. I bring my sponsees in, and we talk about this step one-on-one and do some writing. But in New York, it was just at a meeting we would talk about them. So when I came here and got into the big book and started really sponsoring people, I had 25 years, I think, something like that, when I came here. I felt I grew a lot more here than I did in New York. So I can't tell you enough about how important the steps are for living the right way. I didn't know how to live the right way. I really didn't. And I had good parents, and they lived the right way, and I don't know why I got it, but God in his infinite mercy allowed me to stay in AA. I'm always, when I think about that, why me when others die? I don't know. I'm nothing special, The defects that, this was a thing too, the big book only has a paragraph about 6 and 7. We didn't get too much into 6 and 7 and the 12 and 12. We just did it, and then that was it. I got Drop the Rock. Does anybody know that book? I'm telling you, good book, really good book. I feel those defects today because of that book. I know when they're active in me that I got some work to do, I know I can't get rid of those defects today, that God rids me of them, but I don't have to continue walking in the way of the defects created. I learned how to step back, not open my mouth when I want to open my mouth a lot of times about different things. And I've learned fear can be a good thing. Fear doesn't have to be always bad. Fear keeps me from stepping off the sidewalk into a bus. And I realized that God has given me all these things And I got them out of balance. I got them out of balance, you know. I allowed that fear to happen for drinking and drugging too much and not living the right way or whatever. There's two sides, you know. And the big book, when you read it enough, or at least when I read it enough, there's balance. That's the program, is balancing those emotions and those defects and those assets. What step can I use to help myself with that defect that's in my life all the time? There's always an answer. There's always something that you can do, or I can do. I gotta keep saying I can do. I also love the Little Red Book. If anybody knows what that is, that's a really good one. I know it's by Hazelton, and AA doesn't, you know, how that is. Gifts of Sobriety is another good book. Not too red here, but I like it. Some of my life didn't go as I expected in the program, and I had to learn how, you know, even though I'm in the program and I'm working as hard as I can work most days to keep my life good, stuff's gonna happen, shit's gonna happen. No one in my family is in the program. No one is. My dad lived to be 97, but he liked his wine, you know. And at 96 or 5, whenever he went into assisted living, I bought him wine. You know, I let him have a couple glasses of wine. And I could see the personality change. It was amazing. So I don't have, I have, when I married Dan in, well, I told you how many years ago. He has a son, and I had 3 sons, so now we have 4 sons. And they're sons. They're gonna, you know, they're gonna be stuff that happens. And I did drag them to meetings in the beginning. You know, people used to say, "Oh, here she comes," because I had those 3 teenage kids with me. What was I gonna do? I had no one to leave them with, and I had to go to meetings. So, and I tried Al-Anon for myself, and I feel Al-Anon really helped me a lot in some of those rough spots. I introduced my children to the kids, what is that? Alateen, yeah. But they didn't continue to go. When I had about 25 years in, my oldest boy was going through a lot of stuff, and he was drinking, and his wife, she says she is an alcoholic. It was in the winter, it was in February. They were all drinking, they were with another couple, and he drove his car in the creek, and the water was like frozen and then not frozen. They went way deep in the creek, and 3 of them got out, and 1 of them didn't, and they were all kind of beat up. My daughter-in-law had a broken jaw, and my son had bad cuts all over him, and that kid died. So he was convicted of vehicular manslaughter, and that was a really tough, oh God, tough time. He got off, stayed with his wife, and the judge said to him, "If I ever see you back in here again, you're gonna serve the full time." And he went out drinking with her one night, and they caught him, and that was it. So he was in prison for 5 years, and that was a real heartache for me. It was terrible. He was a good-looking, kind of slate-built young guy, and I had terrible thoughts about what would happen to him in prison, and it was just real scary. And they had 4 kids. She took off down in New York shooting dope, and Dan and I took a little girl. The little girl, she was 5, and my other 2 boys took one of the boys, and a nephew took another boy. So they were split up, but they were in the family, which was good. And it just kind of kept getting worse and worse there, you know. And there was a time where, oh boy, I came pretty close to drinking. It seemed like everything I did wasn't working, you know. But it did in the end. And I was just reading about that today, how if we wait patiently, it comes, if we're doing the right thing. And it did. Things are a lot better today. He has 6 children now, and he's holding his own. No AA though, you know. How I wish that one of my kids would go to AA, but what are you gonna do? They're all back in New York. They're all married, except for Dan's son. He still stayed single. Maybe smart. I don't know. You know, yeah. But they seem happy, and our relationships are pretty good. You know, even though they're back in New York. Dan's son is up in Oregon, and we're here. And also, in 2017, I had cancer, breast cancer, and they had to take my breasts off. So what you see here is not really me. That was scary. My mom died of breast cancer, so I knew right away to go to the doctor, and we caught it in time. I haven't had any other surgeries, except for this year I had back surgery. You know, and those are the things, those are the little steps, like the life issues that we all have to go through. And for me, I'm 73, so it's like I'm starting to deteriorate, you know, the body, and I don't want to think about that. You know, I still think about disco and everything, so I get discouraged. You know, I get depressed over it, like back surgery. What are you talking about? You know, because I love to hike, and I couldn't hike anymore because I was in so much pain. So the surgery went well. I mean, you see me, I'm okay. And that's another thing I have to say, the doctors, wow. When they operated on my mother for cancer, they didn't know a third of what they know today, how they do it. Totally different operation. And this back surgery is just a little slice in my back, you know, and they go in there with a, what do you call it, a saw? A saw in my back, you know. The program has taught me to look at this the positive way. You know, I can complain and moan and groan, but I need to say to myself, oh my God, this is 2022. Yeah, we got COVID, but look at this back operation. This was not possible a few years ago. So I'm glad that, you know, this is good. Dan and I, like I said, I got married, we had 36 years, I got it written here. We've done a lot of traveling, and that's another thing with this COVID. We can't travel anymore because I will not wear a mask all the time. And but we've seen a lot of places, and now it's time maybe just to travel around the United States because we've got a great country here, you know. So I can do that because I'm sober, and I don't go in a place. I was in Fry's the other day, walking down, and it was Absolute. You know Absolute liquor? Vodka? Oh, I used to like that. There was this bottle was like this big, and then they went down, you know, to little ones, and just this alcoholic thought, oh, I could have a drink. Amazing, it's still there. But I can go places, I can sit in a bar today, but not up at the bar. For dinner or whatever, we just had a wedding, my granddaughter got married. I don't think about it. I can go and not think about it. All I ever thought about was drinking and drugging. That was it. Nothing else. I didn't want to eat the food. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just wanted that. That's all. And I don't think about that today. So Dan and I have been retired for a while too. I was retired when I was 50 because we kind of adopted, you know, one of our granddaughters, and it was too hard for me to work and take care of a 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I never went back to work. Dan used to say to me on Sunday nights, you're the grouchiest person, because I would be thinking about going to work on Monday. Oh, God, I hated it, you know. So I don't have to do that anymore. I do a lot of sponsoring. I love sponsoring women. That's one of my favorite things to do. To get somebody early on, take them through the steps and see the whole person change. The look on their face, the angry, and smiling. And living life, being able to keep a job. Keep a job is a big thing, And Dan sponsors too. So our house is kind of like an AA house. We had a house meeting for 5 years. That was good, and then I got sick, so we stopped that. And he now has his male sponsees come. He has a house meeting. I'm very active in the Friday night speaker meeting. I'm GSR, and now I've taken a commitment for the Grapevine coordinator. I have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and I see the disease as a family disease, and Al-Anon comes in there, I have 3 grandsons that they're pretty hurting, Now, today, they're doing all right. One is on Suboxone. He OD'd. They had to bring him back to life, and this disease just doesn't stop. So that's why I say to you, if you can start your family sober, it's such a better start. It's such a better start. And you can do that, Just a couple other things here. We were able to go see Bill's house in Vermont, right? Dorset. And they still have meetings in that house. It's great. To walk in there and just sense him, And then we went to his house, Stepping Stones, in New York. But what's the name of the place? It's in Westchester County. And we were lucky the day we were there, a man took us all around the house, older man who knew an awful lot. And in there too, you could sense, he used to like the violin was there. And we went upstairs, they had redone he had done, the whole upstairs was kind of like his study. There was pictures hanging and books. And then we went to his little cabin off to the side where the big book was written. The desk was in there. I sat at the desk, and a lot of stuff happened there. And also Bob's house, too, we went to. Bob had a very small house, and he had meetings in that house. I sat at the table where he sat. Upstairs, where they tried to get guys sober, was that stuff that he used in the gallon jugs, tomato juice, sauerkraut, and something else, nasty stuff. They would detox them on it. So that was a really interesting place too. There's a poem I would like to read. I kind of stole it from somebody. And that's the thing too, all this stuff that I'm talking about, I didn't think it up. Somebody said it, and I'm copying it. How do you do that? But Bill did. I gotta say, he got a lot of his stuff from other people too. Because there was the Oxford group, and there was a couple other groups like that. We visited some of their places too. And he had all these thoughts, one from this guy, one from that guy, and he put it together for this. He really did, But anyway, this poem, it touches me every time I read it. Actually, this was from a guy in OA, one of our other programs. I am the place where God shines through, for he and I are one, not two. I need not fret, nor fear, nor plan. He wants me where and as I am. And if I be relaxed and free, he'll carry out his plan in me. And that's I got goosebumps. See, I love this. I'm free today. I'm free from Yeah, you know, and I think again, that little bottle or that pack of cigarettes, that had me for years too. I don't need it anymore. I don't need it anymore. I still have, I'm working on sugar, you know, but yeah, I'm not, I bought ice cream. Ice cream, yeah. And there's this I really like too. They're called the Four Absolutes. I don't know if anybody's heard of them. I think they were from the Oxford group, yeah. So one is, and these are goals that I try to adhere to. Absolute honesty, both with myself and others, in word and deed. Absolute unselfishness, to be willing, wherever possible, to help others who are in need. Absolute love, thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, and mind. Absolute purity, purity of mind, body, and purpose. And one other thing, and then I'm going to stop. This is I have so many papers here. I don't know how to get all these papers here. And I had myself all together because I knew I was coming. All right, this is an old one, so it's probably not really perfect. This is how I kind of see the steps. Step 1 is to see my need. Just got to see my need. 2 is to find God. 3 is to submit to God. 4, who am I and where did I come from? 5, I will confess and connect to you and another human being. Big, big thing. Very important. 6, God, I'm ready to have you change me. 7, God, please change me. 8, who did I hurt? I'm ready to try to amend this. 9, okay, God, here we go. Let's do this amend thing where possible. 10, God, let's watch who and what I am right now today. When I make a mistake, I will admit it to you. 11, God, I need more of you in my life. And I pray to know what your will is for me. And I pray for strength, your strength, to do it. 12, God, you're here within me. Through these steps, you've opened up my mind, my eyes, my ears, and my heart. Bring me others that I may help. And God, allow me to continue this new way of living, the AA way, which is your way. So I'm putting my papers away. And I want to thank you for listening to me. And I hope that at least one of you were touched by something that I said and you take it away, you know, with you tonight and use it in your life. And that's what I did. That's where I got all this stuff from. You know, I take these bits and pieces and use them in my life. My mouth is cotton mouth. I haven't had that in a long time. Thanks.